The upcoming clash between Paddy Pimblett and Tony Ferguson looks like a classic battle of a legend facing a new rising star.
When Tony versus Paddy was announced, you didn't like it. You didn't like the match. You didn't love that Tony was being rebooked.
In reality, this fight is the most important battle of both fighters' careers, as the stakes have never been higher for either of them.
Very beatable guy. Likes to put on a show. Kind of mouthy.
I want to have a war. To be honest, I've said this, and we'll see who falls first. I'm game to get in there with him and get another 50-grand bonus.
I'm going to go in there, I'm going to finish Paddy. Whatever energy that he's going to bring is not going to bring me down.
MMA is a sport where fighters often find themselves at a crossroads, facing challenges that can either elevate them to legendary status or ruin their careers forever. Let's delve deeply into this fight and analyze how the fighter who loses this bout will be out of the MMA map forever.
MMA Fighter Spot, man, that channel is fucking great.
On December 16th, 2023, the T-Mobile Arena will host UFC 296, Edwards vs. Covington. While the spotlight shines on the welterweight championship clash between Leon and Colby, another thrilling matchup awaits on the main card, the battle between Tony Ferguson and Paddy Pimblett. Tony Ferguson, a once dominant force in the division, finds himself in a precarious position with a 6-fight losing streak. The question arises, why match him against a rising star like Paddy Pimblett? The answer becomes clear when we examine the strategic motives behind the UFC's decision. The real reason behind this fight becomes evident. It's a calculated move to build a young star off the name of a legend. At nearly 40 years old, Ferguson remains a revered figure in the sport, boasting a massive fan base despite recent setbacks. The UFC, perhaps viewing Ferguson as an old but still very functional Lamborghini, sees potential in pairing him against Pimblett.
Tony has came in second in his last 6, but he's still on the main card. I mean, it's very relevant.
It's a strategic move that could retire the old guard gracefully while catapulting Pimblett's popularity to new heights. Yet, even in his decline, Ferguson remains a formidable force, capable of presenting challenges to Pimblett. For Pimblett to secure a convincing victory, he must aggressively pursue Ferguson from the outset, leveraging heavy shots to overcome the seasoned fighter. Conversely, Ferguson, known for his enduring cardio and resilience, could turn the tide in later rounds if Pimblett fails to capitalize early. Comparisons with Jared Gordon, who outstruck and out-wrestled Pimblett, highlight the potential pitfalls for the Englishman. While Ferguson may not be the force of his prime, he is still good enough to beat someone like Paddy, arguably on par with current competitors like Gordon. We all know Tony is a fighter who's been aiming for championships and battling tough opponents in the top 5 for a long time. Sure, he could probably win against some of the guys Paddy has already fought, but is this the Tony we really want to watch? Is it right for him to fight Paddy's less experienced opponents just to add more wins to his record? It's not just the UFC. We, the fans, also think it might be a good idea for Tony to retire if he doesn't win his next fight. We remember how amazing he used to be, and we want to keep those memories alive. We want to remember the Tony who fought in thrilling matches for titles, not someone just picking up wins against less challenging opponents. For Paddy Pimblett, a win against Ferguson could boost his popularity, but a loss might undermine his credibility as a serious title contender. The matchup balances a veteran's decline and a newcomer's ascent. Tony Ferguson's dominance from October 2013 to June 2019 included 12 consecutive victories, but a one-sided loss to Justin Gaethje in 2020 marked the end of his winning streak. Subsequent defeats to Oliveira, Dariush, Chandler, Diaz, and Green highlight his struggles. Ferguson's future is at stake. A loss to Pimblett could spell the end of his career, while a win could rejuvenate his status as a top fighter. Pimblett, a potential superstar, faces uncertainties, with doubts arising from a contentious victory and an ankle injury requiring surgeries. Pimblett acknowledges the lose-lose situation, shared by the MMA community. Beating Ferguson might not earn him due credit, while a loss could hinder his title shot aspirations.
If it did somehow happen to lose, that people are like, oh, cut him. He's being beat by a washed Tony Ferguson who should be cut. So it is a lose-lose situation, but
in the eyes of some, Tony Ferguson remains a dangerous opponent, even with his recent decline. The former double champion, Henry Cejudo, believes that Tony's ground game could play a crucial factor in the fight.
I think Tony Ferguson is a way tougher matchup than what people actually think. You know, could Tony Ferguson take him down 100%? Could he keep him down? I believe so, 100%. So I'm not sure what the UFC's planning on kind of pulling here.
This sentiment is shared by others who believe that Ferguson, despite his losing streak, could pose serious challenges to Pimblett.
And stuff. He retired when he wants to retire. Don't let nobody tell you different. And I fought Tony, so I know what I was dealing with in there. And the whole entire time, even though I was kicking his ass, Tony was never giving up. He was never going to quit. He was never going to break.
When we see who Tony is preparing with ahead of his upcoming bout, we might expect to see an entirely different version of him who could have the edge over the Brit. It's none other than ex-Navy SEAL David Goggins. Yep, they're going all out to ensure Ferguson's in beast mode when he steps into the octagon. It's not your regular gym routine. They're throwing him into the deep end with some seriously intense sessions and workouts straight out of the infamous Hell Week. Talk about pushing Ferguson to the max. There is one thing that only a few people see here. Even a washed-up Tony, clearly over the hill, is still good enough to beat the prime Paddy Pimblett. When you consider everything, it leads to the final question: why is this bout the most important fight in their careers? Paddy Pimblett has been under fire since he won the close decision against Gordon, and most fans believe it was a robbery. The only way to redeem himself from that is another spectacular victory that would catapult his name straight to the rankings. On the other hand, imagine if he loses against a guy who is 0-6 in his last 6 fights, and a guy who is not even a shadow of his old self. In that case, the Pimblett hype train would definitely be derailed, and nobody would take him as a serious title contender anymore. Tony Ferguson is one leg out of the retirement door, and another loss would send him straight to retirement or competing somewhere else. However, if he wins against this young rising star, a glimpse of hope will rise again, showing that Tony still has a gas tank for a few more epic battles in the UFC, which fans have been eager to see for a long time. And who do you guys see winning this bout? Do you believe Tony has enough in his gas tank to pull an upset? Thanks for tuning in to today's video, and if you enjoyed watching and want more content like this, why not show some love with a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button? Join us on our journey to 10,000 subscribers. Let's do this together.